Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Biohacking Beauty Podcast. In this podcast, we are looking at the latest innovations in both wellness, biohacking, and obviously how they pertain to having a youthful looking and performing skin. With me today, back due to popular demand, is my partner and our president of Young Goose. Please welcome Anastasia Khojaeva.
Thank you. Thank you for having me back.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest with you, the responses to your last podcast appearance was so overwhelming. I had no option but to get you back to the podcast, and obviously that was my evil plan. That people will see how amazing you are. We'll get hundreds of raving comments and messages, and you won't be able to say no. So I'm very glad.
It worked. I couldn't say no. And to everyone who left a sweet message and a comment, thank you so much. It means a lot. We read the reviews, the comments, and it means a lot. Thank you.
Yeah, so indeed, last time we spoke about the Amplifying Essence, which is a new product that we launched. Today, we are trying to figure out how people can get. I mean, a lot of the comments were, how can we get a skin like Anastasia's? So obviously, we have a lot to talk about in general, you and I. But what we wanted to do for this podcast is to talk about some of the. If last time we talked about this novel product that most people don't have in their routine, today we're going to talk about some of the building blocks of skincare in general. So we're going to mainly focus on bio-retinol, on retinol as a whole. We're going to also talk about vitamin C and the combination between them. So I'm very excited, but I think what we should do, last time we started by explaining what an essence is. And I think, obviously, most people know what a serum is. They use a serum, maybe not. If not, I hope this podcast is going to convince them to use one. But even if people use a serum, I assume a lot of them actually don't know why they use a serum and what's special about a serum. Even a story that happened to us. The other day we entered a store where we bought Anastasia a body oil.
Shower oil.
Yeah,
I've been the loyal fan of the shower oil for a long time.
And this brand, which we're not going to throw under the bus, the lady there, sweet lady, gave us samples of facial skincare. She didn't know what we do for a living, so she gave us facial skincare. And she said, this is a cream and a serum together.
Yeah.
One product that's a cream and a serum. And we kind of smiled to each other. We were like, yeah, sure, thank you. But I think there is a huge misconception. There is a huge misconception. Oh, my God.
Yes.
Save me.
There are a couple of misconceptions about the place of a serum in the skincare routine and the moisturizer and what each one of those products does, and are they interchangeable, replaceable by one another. So speaking of serum and its place in the routine, I would just say that, you have your cleanser to cleanse the skin, right? You have your toner to tone, which means actually remove the excess sebum and excess oil, right? Then you have your essence to prepare the skin, and then you have your serum to treat the skin. So the serum will be the product that delivers the most amount of active ingredients. That's the most potent product in a skincare line. Understandably so, it's often also the most pricey product in the skincare line for that same reason. And then you have your moisturizer to seal and hydrate. And then let's say if it's a morning routine, you have your SPF to protect from environmental aggressors. If it's a night, maybe you'll go for, the big guns like our hyperbaric mask, and you want to enhance the routine. But I hope that this breakdown of products and what they do help a little bit to set the stage for the products we're going to talk about today.
Yeah, and I think just to, maybe comment, this tiny comment about moisturizer and active ingredients. Active ingredients that we want in a moisturizer, right? Not rather than, but maybe in contrast to a serum would be obviously things that hydrate, but also things that are more like, let's call them like slow release, things that we want to kind of absorb over time and not necessarily immediately. It just gets soaked into the skin. For example, obviously our NAD precursors, the patent is called NAD Noble, formerly NR Noble. But that we chose to put them in moisturizer and eye cream since they actually need to be absorbed more slowly. We use other NAD precursors in, for example, the Essence, because we want them to absorb more quickly. So
for sure. And also, speaking about our skincare line, so our cleanser will be the same for different skin concerns and different skin types, because we formulate for all skin types. So mainly we formulate for mature skin, aging skin. That's the skin that's actually already tends to be sensitive. So it can be rosacea prone, it can even be acne prone. Safe, it is actually. Speaking of our cleanser, and then the same approach is with our toner, which is a Bio-C spray. The same approach is with our amplifying essence. So these are the products that can be used across different skin concerns and skin types. Now, with the serum, that's a little bit different because we have like 5 different ones for different skin concerns. So somebody will be lacking hydration, and that's why we have a special hyaluronic acid serum, which the 2 most active ingredients, they're actually not about hyaluronic acid, but they bring hydration. And then let's say someone has an acne-prone skin, so we developed a green tea fighter serum, etc. So these are like, this is the part, the serum is the part where you're gonna ask yourself, what concerns me the most about my skin, and then you will choose your serum, which will be the workhorse of the routine.
Yeah, it's a great explanation. In short, that's kind of the direction that the routine takes, right?
Exactly.
That's the customization. I think a lot of what I get asked a lot when I go on other people's podcasts is, what do you think about the future of skincare? What do you think about customized skincare? And that's great, but that is kind of a sham, because even customized skincare, what they really have, and there's obviously a big brand that's that was on Shark Tank, and that's why it's famous.
Well, not gonna name it.
No, but they have similar bottles to Care and Eye but and maybe ProCare as well. Anyway, so that's one brand. But I think there is something to say about that.
It was trendy for a while.
Okay, but what I'm trying to say is that these products, what they're doing is they have their own formulations, and they kind of take your concerns and match the formulations to your concern, which is fantastic. We have a quiz on our website, younggoose.com, that you can do something similar. But really, you are only unique to a point. Like, your skin concerns are only unique to a point. And normally, if we can, what we try to do with our serums is really target like fundamental processes, what we call upstream. If you think of a river, if you correct something upstream, it affects everything downstream, rather than just trying to correct something downstream, right?
For sure.
So that's how you can customize your routine.
Yeah. And another way to say the same thing, and I actually just realized that that's the second part to my thought that I was trying to complete before. So with our moisturizer, with the NAD precursors there, they will fuel, repair processes, and they will fuel any process that you ask your skin to do. And that the serum is actually the request. So that's the product that you choose that will give your skin particular tasks. And in the case of going back to the topic of our conversation, retinol, we'll be talking about retinol serum. Here, the request would be, help me restore loss of volume, help me with the fine lines, help me with pigmentation. So that's the request that you're placing. And then we're going to talk about science of retinol and how it does what it does. But then you would still benefit greatly from using the NAD boosting in the moisturizer. But this moisturizer can stay the same across all different skincare routines and concerns. It will just help you fulfill those requests. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, if you have a really good moisturizer, obviously, listen, we can talk about moisturizer at a different time, and why do people think that they need, one moisturizer and not the other, or what are their, as we call it, the UX, user experience, as far as the moisturizer is concerned, and how that plays a role there. But I think today we've beat around the bush enough, and now we're going to get to the bush, which is our bio-retinol. So maybe we should start, before we dive into actual retinol and what it does, maybe we should start with what the bio-retinol is supposed to do, what's special about it, why is there proprietary technology there, what's the difference between that and another run-of-the-mill one. So first of all, maybe we should start, what skin types does our bio-retinol suited for?
Yeah, so we are using all trans retinol, and that's really the gold standard of retinoid formulation. Why I say that? That's the most effective yet the most gentle form of retinoid formulation. So all trans retinol is actually the exact chemical analog of tretinoin. So a lot of people will maybe be familiar with tretinoin, and that's the most
prescription.
Yeah, that's prescription-based retinol. That's something that a lot of people hold to the highest of standards, and that's the most research-backed also version of it. However, the amount of people that can tolerate tretinoin are very few and very far between. It's actually is very strong and very sensitizing.
As I say, it's coming in like a wrecking ball.
Exactly. So with all trans retinol, you literally get all the benefits of that active ingredient, that of the benefits you would get with tretinoin, but it's a lot more gentle.
Yeah.
So
I'll just say that something I think important to understand is that retinol is not like going to the gym. Okay? What I mean by that is, going to the gym is, I go to the gym, I lift weights. That weight on my muscles creates micro damage, micro tears in my muscles. Therefore, they reinforce themselves for the next time. Retinol builds up in your cells. And we're going to talk about it a little bit in a second, I assume. But that means that we need to find the most efficacious strategy, most effective strategy to load our cells with retinoic acid while mitigating the damage that happens along the way, the sensitivity that happens along the way. And that is something I think that is misunderstood. A lot of people, if they don't actually get red or irritated, they think that the retinol isn't working or something like that. So it's important to understand, we're basically loading skin cells for 2 to 6 weeks, depends how depends on a few factors. But so that's the first thing I want to emphasize. Having said that, as you said, retinol, all trans retinol, is the best way to load our cells with retinoic acid, because it's actually being, as you said, it's an analog, which means it's being and we're going to talk about analogs later on as well, but it's being converted into retinoic acid by your body. So your cells get the same product in the end.
Yes.
The question is what happens along the way. And so we started with skin types, so it's actually suitable for all skin types, right?
That's correct.
Yeah.
Yes.
So and we're going to get to other ingredients that Bio-Retinol has in a second. But beforehand, maybe we should talk about the skin concerns or the results that we can get with Bio-Retinol. So what are the results really? Or what are the skin concerns that people should be looking at and choosing Bio-Retinol?
For sure. So it's, skin aging concerns.
So let's talk about skin concerns, or, what should, obviously we said, your serum should give direction to your routine. Okay. So it should be the way we customize the routine. So how do we choose a serum in this case? Why should we choose? When do we choose Bio-Retinol?
For sure. So Bio-Retinol will definitely be one of those products that addresses a lot of skin concerns. All of anti-aging skin concerns, such as dull skin, wrinkles, loss of skin elasticity, skin laxity, so loss of volume, and pigmentation. In addition to that, it can also help reduce pore size and minimize acne.
Yeah. So if lingering maybe on the kind of biohacking science a little bit behind it, this is the real, I would say, workhorse or whatever. Like, this is the real way for us to ask the skin to renew itself. The most effective way. Ask the skin to renew itself. Create new skin, right? It activates basal cells, which are the skin stem cells, basically. So it really creates new skin cells. The problem is that, again, your skin cells, the way that they are being created is reliant on on the age, on the functional age, biological age of your skin cells, that create new skin cells. Okay, so of your factory, skin cell factory, collagen factory, right? So now the question is, what are we doing aside from that is creating a youthful function so we can create like the best skin cells possible? But, concentrating on Bio-Retinol, this is our way to ask the skin to renew itself in the most effective way, in the cleanest way, in the most dramatic way, if you will.
So just for reference, for people that might not know that, but depending on your skin age and overall healthy function of the skin cells, they typically renew themselves at least about every 30 days, sometimes with, aging even longer than that. And then with retinol, they can renew as fast as every 2 weeks.
Wow.
And that's actually, it's not just good for anti-aging, but it's also one of the reasons, or the reason, it's so helpful with acne. It really prevents that buildup of oil and bacteria inside the skin cells, which leads to a cleaner and blemish-free complexion.
For 100%. So we talked a little bit about what we can achieve. We can obviously achieve less wrinkles, less pigmentation, tighter skin, less laxity, even skin tone. In general, a more youthful appearance. Like it's a kind of a kitchen sink approach, if you would. I love this saying. So the problem with normal retinol products is that with that, there is the retinol, when it absorbs into the skin, it really damages the skin's barrier. And that damage is what we call retinal dermatitis, actually. And that is obviously not positive. That's negative. There's flaking, there's irritation, redness, sensitivity to the sun. So you're actually going like 2 steps forward, 1 step back. And what we try to do in this formulation is really solve that issue, right? To biohack retinol.
Yeah.
So we obviously chose all trans retinol, which is as we said, the most elegant way.
Yeah. So out of compared to retin A, retinaldehyde, and tretinoin, it will be the form of retinol, the all trans retinol, that has been shown to penetrate deep within this dermal layer, without actually disrupting the skin barrier.
Mm-hmm.
So out of all the other, and when it comes to retinoid formulations, there are many different options on the market, but I do want our listeners to understand that we do use the most efficacious and gentlest form at the same time, which is
Yes.
all trans retinol.
Yes, correct. So it's more about, and I think a paradigm shift that is happening right now, by the way, in the world of advanced skincare. Okay, like really the tip of the spear, which is what we're trying to do here in the podcast, is really looking at retinol instead of like what is the strongest to what can we basically retinize the skin, what can we raise the level of retinoic acid in the skin more. Okay,
Yeah.
so this is the best way to do that. Unfortunately, also within that space, there is flaking and irritation. Like it's part of the process. So how do we solve that? We talked about retinol as all trans retinol is our main active ingredient there.
We have two more ways that we solve that in our formulation. One of which is that we use 0.5%. So that's the very it's a sweet spot percent-wise where you get the results. You do get that cellular turnover. You with continuous use, you do see minimization of the depth of wrinkles, evening out of skin tone, and as compared to 1% and higher formulations, you will have much less chance to experience retinoid dermatitis, so flakiness and redness. And the second way that we do that, technically third, so all trans retinol 0.5%, and we also added biomimetic lipids.
Yeah,
so
which is kind of we're starting to get known for our biomimetic lipids. They're proprietary, and it's one of these things that really set us apart. We have them in a few products. We have people like Susan Bratton that are trying to have us put it in every product and create new products with it. So let's talk a little bit about biomimetic lipids. First of all, what is biomimetic? Let's start with that.
For sure. So we took glycolipids and phospholipids that are identical, so mimetic, to your own glycolipids and phospholipids that make up your skin barrier. So they're biomimetic to your actual natural skin barrier. And so that again, that is done to support the skin barrier function. So Susan Bratton, she really likes our product called BioBarrier, which is really like the essence of that product is those biomimetic lipids plus some active ingredients. But here in the bioretinol, they're added for that barrier support because, as you were mentioning, retinal dermatitis, it is not fun, right? Nobody wants to have the downtime, the redness, this skin sensitivity, the flakiness. So we do try to minimize it as much as possible, and that's why we formulated the way that it is. I do want to address, though, that very small percent of people with extremely sensitive skin might still experience some redness and flakiness, and that's called retinizing. So it's the adjustment period to the retinol. And I do want to give people a little bit of an overview of what that is and how to counteract it and how to go about it.
Yeah, but I do want within that you will take a chance and explain also maybe best practices of using retinol. So go ahead. I just wanted to make sure that's there.
For sure. So usually people that start with our bioretinol, if they start low and slow, they 100% avoid retinizing. So what is low and slow? We want you to start twice a week, see how your skin feels. Most people will not experience redness and sensitivity. So then you can go 3 times a week. Again, you monitor your skin, you see how it reacts. If it's still not tender, not red, not sensitive, you can increase it more. And you do it like the increase weekly. So you start with twice a week, then if everything goes well, next week you already do it 3 times a week, and then you go to 4 times a week. Ideally, you want to use bioretinol nightly. Why is that? because that in general, your skin only holds on to this ingredient for 24 hours. So you do want to keep feeding your skin this ingredient, which is basically means that you're feeding your skin the resources to create more collagen. To then again, we talked about to speed up cellular turnover, and it's really really good for your skin. So, but to build that tolerance, to do it nightly, you do have to start low and slow. Now, in the event that you've, let's say you did it 2 times, then you did it 3 times, and you get redness and sensitivity, there are good practices. So for that time being, as your skin keeps adjusting, I don't recommend to pause and because we do want to push past that part. So your skin can actually have a chance to build the tolerance. So you continue applying retinol, but now you also add a lot of hydration. So if you already have our adaptogenic HA serum, which is the serum that brings hydration, use that. If you have our biobarrier serum, which is part of, let's say, advanced biohack aging system that already comes with retinol, you have that serum there. Use that, in combination with the retinol as you apply them together.
Together or before or after?
Ideally, you will apply the biobarrier first, and then you will lay retinol after. And that will give your skin chance to then again maintain the skin barrier, but still push past that retinizing period. And then usually the retinizing period takes between 2 to 5 weeks tap, but that's the time that you might have to experience a little bit of redness and flakiness. Once you pass that, that's it. You can use it as much as nightly without any irritation, any sensitivity, and you will see your skin change. And that's the most beautiful part. When you use something and you see the results, you know it's all worth it.
Yeah. So, and you can even do it with moisturizer, right? Like if you don't have, let's say, you are not one of the lucky people to have our biobarrier or the adaptogenic HA firming boost.
There is a technique that's called sandwich technique. So you apply a layer of moisturizer.
Named after Lord Sandwich, of course.
And you apply a layer of sandwich ones, a layer of moisturizer. Then you apply the layer of the bioretinol, and then another layer of moisturizer. So that's the sandwich technique. And that also will help to alleviate that redness and sensitivity during the retinizing period. But then again, I do want to stress, let's say someone maybe tried retinoids in the past, right? Have never tried our product, but tried it before, experienced redness and sensitivity, and they're like, it's not going to work for me. This ingredient just not going to work for me. Ask yourself if you did all of those steps. And then I hope you will reconsider, because if you are someone that experiencing those skin concerns we talked about, the all-trans retinol that we're talking about here as an ingredient will be a foolproof ingredient. It's the most research-backed. It will work. It's science as long as you use it. And then if you have difficulties starting to use it, try those tips, and hopefully you'll be able to incorporate it.
As Anastasia said, it's science. Other retinols, by the way, are not science. This is the only retinol that is actually science. So talking about science, we have clinical data. We published a study on that. So the study, just to phrase it and connect to what you said, the science is using, efficacious and generally, I would say, acknowledged percentages of retinol that are medically viable without getting retinal dermatitis. So that's actually a groundbreaking study. But there is also some result numbers that we can talk about there.
Yeah.
So from the clinical study data, maybe you want to go over it. It's really cool.
Yeah, for sure. So we ran a study for 12 weeks, and people have started noticing improvement as early as 2 weeks, which is really great. But by the 8 weeks mark, we had 100% of users noticed a decrease in the length and depth of lines and wrinkles. 100% of users experienced an increase in skin luminosity. 90% of users saw an evening of skin tone and lessening of age spots. And then 100% of users noted an increase in skin firmness.
Yeah.
So we definitely we do the testing in a third-party lab. We don't use our own lab for testing, and they were blown away with these results.
Yeah, and no threatening happened. This is I'm kidding. This is a third-party tested, etc. I think these are incredible results. 40% really noticed the difference within 2 weeks. So, I mean, if you are seeing results within 2 weeks, you really, actually within 4 weeks, it was also 40%. And then 6 weeks, it was already over 60, like 70%. 8 weeks to 12 weeks were those 90 to 100%. So I think it's pretty remarkable, to be honest with you, as far as like clinical data. And to get what you were hoping for, because it doesn't happen all the time.
For sure. And we actually have amazing, not only pictures from the clinical study, but also user trials. So pictures that we've shared already on our Instagram, you can find them there, of just Young Goose clients that have been using as little as like retinol in our care, and have seen amazing results. So we've seen, again, reduction in the forehead lines and nasolabial folds. It is pretty amazing what this ingredient and this formulation can do if used consistently.
Yeah. One question before we kind of get into the more biohacky things, like how do we really make it work? Like maybe we should talk about uses in other places in the body. So a lot of obviously a lot of people say things like, "Oh, it's your hands that show your age." A lot of people are asking, "What can I use, for example, for the crepiness?" But basically, they're talking about sarcopenia, which is kind of on the back of the hand, knees, legs. So maybe we should, before we kind of move on, talk about using it on other parts of the body.
You absolutely can use it on other parts of the body. Absolutely. And we've actually also had amazing before and afters on the hands, and people that use it on neck and chest areas. I will just, I think this is a great time to remind people that retinol will make your skin more sensitive to the sun. So you always need, if you use retinol at night, the next day you're applying SPF in the morning, right? And so if you use it on other parts of the body, sometimes people only put SPF on the high real estate, so only on their facial skin. They kind of forget, or on purpose don't use it on other parts of the body. So just be mindful that if you did use it on your hands or neck and chest, and those areas are exposed to the sun the next day, please make sure that you cover it with clothing or SPF.
Another thing, idea of what SPF they should use?
Yes, if you really want to give your skin the best, then you should use BioShield SPF 40.
By who?
By Young Goose. And there are many reasons to that, such as that it doesn't only protect your skin from damaging UV rays, so UVA, UVB, but also blue light, and also EMF, and also all sorts of environmental aggressors, such as pollution and heavy metals. And this will be the ad break for this episode.
Brought to you by.
Yes. And another thing I do want to point out is that another better together kind of duo. So retinol and SPF, they're better together, but also retinol and vitamin C. They're better together. Now, when I say they're better together, I don't want people to think they're better together at the same time of application. I'm actually personally a believer of using vitamin C in the morning and the retinol at night. So I separate them by at least 12 hours. There is a lot to say about different kinds of vitamin C, and so some forms will just not play nice together. So if you are somebody that has a vitamin C not from Young Goose at home, and you're using retinol, I do want you to go and read the label and see what kind of vitamin C form you have. If you happen to have L-ascorbic acid, which is the most common
This
form
is
of
the most toxic skincare ingredient in skincare today.
Unfortunately, that's true. And then also, unfortunately, it's one of the most widespread ingredients that you find in skincare. And like 90% chance that if you have a vitamin C that's not from Young Goose and you read the label, you'll see that it's L-ascorbic acid. So L-ascorbic acid and retinol don't play nice together at all. They first of all deactivate each other, but not only that, they really sensitize the skin. So that's another thing that sometimes people, they have their skincare routine in place and they introduce retinol and it didn't work for them. Well, maybe your skincare routine had L-ascorbic acid in it and they will not work together. Here at Young Goose, we use THD ascorbate as a form of vitamin C, which can be found in our ProCare serum. So actually, because both of them are lipid soluble and the way that they're formulated, you could even apply them on the same night. I would still separate them by at least 20 minutes apart, but you could technically use them together. They will not deactivate each other. They will not harm each other's function or efficacy in any shape or form. However, as I mentioned before, I separate them by at least 12 hours. That's because I'm somebody with a very sensitive skin, and it just works better for me. When I use one in the morning, the other one at night, there is no stinging, there is no sensitivity, and I get all the results.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah, so the reason we separate them or we recommend separating them, I don't, by the way, I can tolerate both, but the reason is because both of them do cause some sensitization, which is separate from the results that you're getting. It actually has nothing to do with the results. So more sensitivity is not better or worse. It's just another feature, right? So within that feature, we want to space out ingredients that give us great results, but that sensitize the skin. So we don't want, sensitivity over sensitivity over sensitivity. At some point, it doesn't matter really who you are. At some point, you're going to get your skin's going to have enough. So that's something that we do want to avoid. But again, the product that we have that has vitamin C in it is ProCare, our senolytic serum, and vitamin C there is the I would say the ingredient that stimulates renewal, right? The other ingredients are really longevity ingredients. They create what we call a genetic reboot. They upregulate, or they basically like bring back to a youthful state or resuscitate 14 different genes that shut down during aging: collagen genes, elastin genes, hyaluronic acid genes, and genes are another word that we can say for a recipe. So they shut down the recipe for collagen, elastin, hyaluronic acid, etc., and they eliminate malfunctioning cells that are called senescent cells. Senescent cells are also called zombie cells, and they are cells that are left behind. They don't function correctly, and they also infect other cells. That's why they're called zombie cells. And actually, we're starting to see evidence that all-trans retinol also eliminates, obviously to a lesser extent, senescent cells. So we see another beautiful synergy there. But I think we should. So after I gave this, review, I think we should concentrate, no pun intended, on the vitamin C aspect of ProCare. We should also talk about why do we want to use them together or in the same regimen, and also what happens if we don't.
For sure. And then we also we put a poll on our Instagram a few weeks back leading up to this episode. If you asking our followers if they use Bio-Retinol and in general retinol in their skincare routine, and if not, why? And we got a lot of responses.
So everyone but one person said that they use Bio-Retinol. If you're listening right now and you're not using Bio-Retinol, you're the one. No, but, yeah.
But we did get a lot of responses, and there are common myths and misconceptions about retinol, which were brought up in some of the responses, which I do want to address in this episode. And I'm also mindful of the time that our listeners are giving us. So, okay, speaking of vitamin C relationship with retinol, there are this powerful team. They work better together. And the way I see that, okay, vitamin C is able to stimulate your skin potential to create that collagen, hyaluronic acid, and elastin. So the three superheroes of skin firmness and youthfulness, and then the retinol is able to employ it. So you can think of it that every time you use retinol, it goes ahead and uses the collagen and elastin and hyaluronic acid, and it puts it in place and it builds your skin with it. But it obviously needs to have resources. So the vitamin C is the one that makes sure that you have those resources available for the retinol. So does that make sense?
I mean, I think, thank you for that. That's great. And thank you for trying to make it as simple as possible. Mm-hmm. Speaking straight on, if someone wants but tell me really what's going on here. Mm-hmm. It's a coenzyme. So vitamin C is a coenzyme for those things, especially for collagen, but for those things. So, and that's something, I mean, you can explain it better than I do, but just to try and give a very short answer, it potentiates collagen production. So if we have a requirement for collagen, we need to have the ability to create collagen. If we ask our body for more collagen than what it usually provides, then we need more of the catalysts, we need more of the enablers to create collagen. What happens if you don't? That's where I feel people have bad experiences with, especially with retinol, obviously.
And also, it's not even just the bad experience, but also, especially in our biohacking industry, people actually do like controversy, and it can be for good and for bad. And so there was this controversy, and there is still controversy around retinol thinning out the skin and exhausting skin's resources for collagen. And people are worried that it's a short-term gain, but long-term you're depleting your skin of its potential, youthfulness. So this is, again, where we're saying this could potentially happen, right? Speaking, in theory, but that's if you don't use vitamin C, if you don't use other stimulants such as peptides that's going to create collagen. And now we put another one in the mix, peptide, and see how peptides work together with vitamin C and retinol. And that maybe should be a separate episode. But they do work together. You just have to make sure that you use it correctly and you layer it correctly and use the best forms. So again, today's episode is revolving around all-trans retinol, and now we're talking about THD ascorbate. Those are the Rolls Royce of their respective categories. They're the most efficacious, science-backed, and gentlest for the longevity of your skin. Yeah. And that's something to keep in mind, because not all vitamin C is the same, not all retinol forms are the same.
Yeah, great. I mean, great recap. So in general, vitamin C would be used in the morning. That's ProCare. It's going to be your morning serum. And Bio-Retinol would be your evening serum.
Yeah.
Another thing I think it's important to understand is if you're a novice in this regimen and you are not using retinol every night, you could use ProCare as your nightly serum when you're not using bioretinol.
For sure.
Same thing goes for like if you have acne and you're using something as like a peel and you don't want to use retinol at the same time, then these things play into account. Like you use one day and you peel the other day. What else?
I think this is a great time to go over those questions.
Yes, definitely.
Okay, so the question was, why don't you use retinol? So one person answered, looking for something more natural.
So retinol is as natural as apple pie. No, I'm kidding. It's as natural as can be. So retinol is vitamin A.
I was going to say the same thing.
It is, it's the most, it's definitely, it's natural
it's not
to your
foreign
liver.
To your body.
Yeah.
Your body knows exactly what it is and what to do with it, how to incorporate it. So it is definitely not something unnatural for your skin. And that's, again, some of the misconceptions that can happen.
Yeah. I would say also there are a lot of retinol alternatives. And I would say there are two categories of retinol alternatives. One are things that are trying to do the same as retinol as far as like cellular turnover. And the other ones, they have no connection to retinol. There is a company that has an interesting peptide that is supposed to eliminate senescent cells. Right now, we don't know yet because it's in, they only showed it in like a petri dish on a single cell. And the joke is that you can cure any cancer in a petri dish. So there's years and years and years of research until this is proven, yes or no, but it's interesting. But what they're saying is, hey, use our peptide instead of retinol. There's no connection there. There's absolutely nothing there. But the first group I mentioned, which can be I forget, doesn't matter the brands, but it could be like retinol alternatives. What we need to understand is what they're trying to do is mimic retinol. So they're trying to do the same thing. So they're not alternatives, really. That's number one. And number two, they are not natural to the body. They are, either plant-based or chemical, synthetic, those things, or extracts. But those things really kind of get your skin out of homeostasis because your skin has no idea what to do with them.
For sure, yes. And that's exactly one of those instances when you think that you're going for something more natural, but really you might be actually doing the exact opposite.
Yeah.
So moving on to the next question, why don't you use retinol? It thins and dries out the skin. So I think we just answered that question a few minutes ago when we talked about potential depletion of the collagen if you use retinol, but you don't rebuild that collagen with vitamin C. In terms of drying the skin, that's only during but I can see how people could say that during the retinizing period, or if they're using the form of retinol that is too strong for them, or percentage, right? So if you're using Tretinoin, as I said before, it's too few and far between people that can tolerate it. Maybe that was the experience where a person, assumed that dried out their skin.
Because it's from that retinol dermatitis. It's from, damaging your skin barrier.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. But if done correctly, it does not thin or dry out your skin.
Quite the contrary.
Yep. It actually does make your skin thicker and it rebuilds your skin. And people that consistently use retinol, they have glowing, hydrated skin because, it does make a huge improvement in skin quality if done correctly.
I would say it's like trying to, it's like if you ask someone, why don't you work out? And they say, because you overwork out. If done correctly, it's great. If not, then you're gonna create more harm
or
than
like
good.
they worked out a couple of times and the body was not used to it and they're all sore and I don't know, maybe they even injured themselves, and so
Yeah.
they're like, working out is
Yeah.
really, really evil for you. Like you injure yourself and you're sore.
Actually, that's a good analogy in that point. I know I said before that it's not like a gym, so now I'm maybe, but anyway, it's a good analogy because when you talk to personal trainers, like the one that you have, for example, if we talk to her, she's going to say, don't go too hard too early, because what's going to happen, you're going to get very, very, very sore. You won't be able to train for a while, or if you would, it would be extremely uncomfortable. And then you're going to basically not create a habit. You're going to have bad connotations around it. So
that's exactly retinizing.
Yeah, I agree. And I think if we, kind of go a little bit more philosophical and think that everything in life that we're doing, we should be doing out of the idea of building a habit out of it. So everything we're doing is habit building, bad, good. It builds a habit at the end of the day, right? So we should be conscious about like, what are we doing? Because it goes to one of the piles. From that point of view, we should really, even if we feel like someone like myself, if one is good, 100 is 100 times better. We should really take the Anastasia approach, which is slow and steady, because you are just, what you're doing here is you're building a skin longevity habit, rather than try to get the results that people got, after 2 weeks, after 4 weeks, after 6 weeks. No, we want results after 6 years, after 60 years. That's what's special about Young Goose skincare. I feel like as a whole is, you're going to get results in 6 weeks, but you're going to get even better results after 6 years, and you're going to look your best after 60 years. So that's just a little rant about that. What other things we got there?
For sure. So another reason why somebody is hesitant about using retinol, I've heard negative facts about it. So that's an interesting statement, because you heard negative things or facts. Were they really facts? That's up to debate, because again, in the day and age that we're living, you can hear facts that are really just someone's blog on social media, and it's not from PubMed. But when we're speaking about facts, we've, I think, again, talked in this episode extensively about the potential negative side effects of retinol and how to avoid them, and how to choose the best formulation to not encounter a chance of them.
Yeah. I mean, we're not going to name names, but there's a very, very famous guy that has a podcast, and his podcast is about really everything, like supernatural or whatever. He's vegan. And he was trying to, again, he's like super famous. He was trying to create an episode about retinol being bad. And, after a while, he goes, well, actually, I couldn't find anything. So most of those things is like abusing retinol. It's the same like every other, I would say everything that is an outlier of how good it is for our body. With great power comes great responsibility. So you'll have those things that you should be careful with. And that applies to everything. It even applies to peptides, actually. So
absolutely.
I mean,
yeah. And I think if you follow if you make sure that you anchor your retinol application with vitamin C, you make sure you use it together, and with the SPF, right, in the skincare routine, there's no fact that you can come across that will apply to a potential danger.
Did we say yeah, for sure.
So then
and NAD.
And for sure. So another person says that they don't use retinol temporarily while breastfeeding. That's correct. You shouldn't be using retinol during pregnancy and breastfeeding. And then again, luckily, it's such a well-researched ingredient that we know this. We know that during pregnancy, actually, you should be avoiding AHA, so alpha hydroxy acid, BHA, salicylic acid, and retinol. So everything that has the tendency to speed up the cellular renewal and kind of peel the skin in one way or the other is put on hold until
you're done.
You
shouldn't use aspirin.
You actually, I don't know if you know, but there's so many things you shouldn't do in pregnancy. So This is one of them.
Talk to you.
Talk to your doctor for more. Okay, why don't use retinol? Concerned over decades, it may thin out my skin, sensitize skin to the sun, and impact barrier function. So,
You're right, ma'am or sir. You are correct.
yeah,
and if you listen to this podcast until this point,
yeah, and really, I think reading these questions now at the end, hopefully, explains why we talked about what we talked about, because these are the concerns people have, and luckily we did address all three parts of this question. Yes, if you're using the wrong form, it might impact your barrier function, such as tretinoin. Luckily, here at Young Goose, we have given you all trans retinol, which is the gentlest form. We gave it to you at 0.5% and with biomimetic lipids. So that actually really supports your barrier function. And then we talked already about thinning out of the skin and sensitizing to the sun. Make sure you use your SPF and make sure that you use vitamin C. So these are all the things to understand about that. Why don't you use retinol? I use tretinoin. Nothing against tretinoin that I have. It's a fantastic, effective molecule if you can tolerate it. So if you can tolerate it, great.
You can use both. I mean, shout out to Dr. Erica Klemper, the great, at Wellderm Santa Barbara, that actually is trying to get her patients to use both. Obviously, over time, but we are looking heavily into the combination of different retinoids as a more of a long-term study in this. But yeah, in general, if you use tretinoin, that's fantastic. But really, again, what you're trying to do is, you're trying to just raise the levels of retinoic acid in your skin cells. Everything else is a fun story that you can tell your kids one day. I don't know. Yeah.
For sure. Now, question: why don't you use retinol? I don't know how to use it. So hopefully, with
put it on your hand, and then you dab it.
Well, hopefully, with the guidelines that we provided of how you introduce it, using it at night, pairing it with other products. Refer to the earlier part of this episode. I hope that this particular person will have now a clearer understanding of how to introduce retinol. So why don't you use retinol? I go into the sun. So
directly into the sun?
Probably.
But it was nice meeting you.
Well, we actually are located in Florida, and we have clients and doctors that retail our bioretinol here, and they tell their patients to use it morning and night. Why? Because actually, if you protect your skin with the SPF and with the protective clothing, with a hat, you can actually do that. So why I'm saying that, I personally don't use it in the morning, but I'm just saying that it can be done as long as you protect your skin with the SPF. But even for people that are super active, like to be outdoors, we make non-toxic, 100% mineral sunscreen that you should not be afraid to put on your skin. And you can use retinol at night. And you can go into the sun.
Yeah. One more question that's not on your list, but someone asked is, how can I improve microneedling? And something that we obviously have learned from another amazing friend and purveyor of Young Goose, which is actually the Frisch Institute in Switzerland. She's the trainer for Dermapen, which is like a professional microneedling for the entire European continent. And she actually uses bioretinol as a way to improve microneedling results. So because bioretinol is basically allowing the skin or promotes faster cellular turnover, things that are renewing or that ask for renewal in the skin they work very well together. Obviously, again, we don't want to do them like one after another. They support each other kind of from afar, right? So using bioretinol on a regular basis is an amazing thing to use, around microneedling. We have other, let's just shout out another name over here, our amazing friend, Dara from Naapua Wellness in Hawaii, that actually uses bioretinol together with our professional peels that we make for spas that do have peptides, etc. Like we actually have really, really, really cool peels that infuse the skin with copper peptide. So she uses bioretinol. If someone wants a stronger peel or more results from the peel, she actually uses bioretinol together with it. So that's some interesting things. I think it's her that does it. Shout out to Napua Wellness in general. But,
in general, she actually just shared the microneedling protocol that she does with Young Goose products, like, cleansing the skin before by C-peptide spray, then microneedling, then, caring for the skin after with the hyperbaric mask. So shout out.
Shout out. Another, by the way, shout out to the hyperbaric mask. A beautiful pairing with bioretinol that actually can be paired at the same time. Yeah. So actually, something going on a super small tangent here. We did mention like peptides and bioretinol, and some peptides and retinols are actually not the best together. But the peptide that we use in hyperbaric mask is actually what we call a propeptide, because it's a peptide that makes your body create peptides. And in this case, it's a peptide that elevates, again, expression of collagen genes. And together, this tying up together of something that requires more collagen and something that improves how collagen is created is, again, like a beautiful combination. These two ingredients together, or these two products together, used in the evening, like using our, wash and face, blah, 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 using bioretinol, using our care moisturizer, and then applying the hyperbaric mask overnight. This is what skin biohacking is.
Yeah, that's
bio-hacking.
I was going to say that. Yeah, no, it's fine. And I think that that's a good wrap for the retinol, and because we talked about how to introduce it and how to use it. We went over the most common asked questions. And I really hope that everyone now has a better understanding of this ingredient, what it does, what's its potential, and understand, what to look for when thinking about introducing retinol. Make sure it's all trans retinol. And, all of the tips and tricks around it.
Yeah, I agree. So that's it for us today. Thank you very much, Anastasia, for your wealth of knowledge. It's an understatement. So I really appreciate you coming on.
I really hope that it's been helpful and useful, because we can talk science all day, but for most people, they just want to know how to use the products, get the results they're looking for. And so I hope it was practical. That's what I'm trying to say.
And again, only trans retinol is science. Every other retinol is not science. Having said that, thank you everyone for listening. Again, if you have any questions, so normally I am answering questions that are related to the episode in this section, but we've answered questions.
We answered a lot of questions.
So that's kind of behind us. But having said that, I want to remind everyone that their reviews are what helps us grow in this podcast. And this podcast is our mission to provide information on how to biohack your skin aging, how to reverse it with different modalities. So the only way that other people can enjoy this content as much as you, or sometimes more than you, I don't know, maybe you don't enjoy it, is by you, first of all, giving us a good review, sharing it if you could, but also if you do have questions, if you do have queries, and you want them answered, the best way to do that is by going and putting a review, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, whatever that is, and we will make sure to answer your questions in the appropriate episode. But aside from that, again, thank you very much, Anastasia. That's all from us today, and we'll see you here next time in the Biohacking Beauty Podcast. Goodbye,
Thank you.
everyone.
Bye, everyone. Thank you.